protecting assets in divorce, there's also ways to try and protect yourself beforehand. So nowadays you can do a prenuptial agreement, which I do deal with quite a lot for people, but me personally, I wouldn't sign one because you're married for love. But I do understand why people do them, especially in a second marriage, because obviously there's children and other assets to protect. So I do really understand why they're done. So there's quite a misconception that they're not binding, but they can be legally binding, but they've got to meet a certain criteria, or else they're not really worth doing. So the first one, it should be signed well in advance of the wedding to show it wasn't signed under duress. So if someone signed one like 2 days before, it wouldn't really be appropriate to do that. And the second point is both parties must provide full and frank disclosure of the finances, so that both are aware of what the other one has before signing it. And then the third one is both should get independent legal advice. Again, if that's not done, there's always scope for the other person to say, well, I didn't understand, I didn't get advice, right, etc. So they're becoming more and more common, really. Again, they can be overturned sometimes if things changed, or if someone came into a lot of money, for example, that wasn't foreseen in the prenup. But a lot of the time they are upheld, and they are a good way of protecting your assets if it's something like a second marriage. I mean, quite a lot of people do them for a first marriage, but each to their own. But I'm not sure I'd sign one if Matt had asked me to do that. But we do prepare them more and more now, because they can be given a lot of weight. And obviously, we're not as wealthy as some people, so we're probably, if he was a multimillionaire, he might want me to sign one, might he? But yeah, it's just something for people to be aware of, because I think that, post-nups can be done as well. So it's just something that, if someone's worried about that, they might ruin the romantic part of the wedding building up to it. But it is something that's becoming more and more common, really, for people to do.
Yeah. Like I said, be done well in advance, not when it's lead up to the marriage where you got all roses and hearts.
No. Maybe at least 3 months.
But if it's not about money, it's about the dog, is it?
Well, if you're a bride, you want the build up to the wedding. So I'd say at least 3 months before is probably not ruining the romance too much. But yeah, the dog, I do get why people argue about dogs. And the crux of the dog is, I don't agree with this personally, but they're treated as a chattel. So whoever's name it's in, they have a lot of the say, and it's their chattel. So sometimes I do think to myself, I need to sort out Dolly going into my name just in case. But I don't think he'd do that to me. Hopefully not. But yeah, we've sometimes done arrangement orders where the other person spends time with the dog and things like that. So
crazy.
Oh, really? You get the dog at weekends?
Yeah, sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd be the same.
I'd want her all the time, though.
Yeah, I would want mine all the time.
I'd share my little boy, but he needs his dad as much as me. But Dolly prefers me, so there's no point.
Dogs all
Okay. Well, Kay, we know you watch American Drama, so you're used to prenups as well as burner phones. But
I've not got many. I don't think I've got a client that's got a prenup.
I was going to ask you, do you give different advice if they?
No, I've not. It's not something that comes up in much conversation with me, to be honest. I can see that there's a place for it, and I can also see why the romance would be a bit
Romance with the dead.
Yeah, you know.
But
It is kind of
presumably,
like signing a contract for when it goes wrong. That's why
Yeah.
me out of work, although I can see why some people need them, I would want to walk up an aisle and get married for life. So
Yeah, I'm full of
Yeah.
not money.
yeah.
yeah.
I've got a
Well,
client at the moment who's looking at doing one. They've been married before, so I think it's
Yeah.
more
That's
appropriate.
quite common, I think. That's
Yeah.
probably more common than first marriage doing them, or if one person's from a very wealthy family, that can be
Yeah.
quite common. But it's more common, which I do get with a second marriage, because
Yeah.
if you've got
There's
a
children
property,
as well. Yeah.
yeah, and
And I
if
suppose if
your
you've been
property-
divorced, you've already had some of your assets
Yeah.
taken away. You
and
don't
you've
expect
built it
to
up
get-
again, and then
Yeah.
someone else is potentially
Yeah,
getting half again. I do understand it then. But yeah, they're not the cheapest documents to prepare, because you have to do those 3 steps. Because some people, they'll like find a template on the internet, but like that's the worst thing you can do, because obviously the whole point is it's got to be done properly, and they're not easy to draft, so that they're as strict, they have to be as structured and as bulletproof as they can be. So just downloading something off the internet, it's not going to work. But
Yeah.
you'll
It's a
get
bit
the
like people
offer
with
that's the
different
same with
software.
wills, isn't it? The same with
Yeah.
wills. You don't download a will off the internet and write it out. Have it done properly.
yeah.
And like company agreements, like saying, oh, well, we had this agreement and got this thing off the internet. And then you're like, what is that?
And
Yeah.
what is that?
Well, you just train so long in it all, and I think people like looking on the internet to get the answers they want, whereas with me, I'll say the truth whether people like that or not.
Yeah.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
It is, but I feel like people sometimes scour the internet for the opposite answer. But
Everybody
yeah,
sent answers, 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the morning, and you just Google.
I just love it when a client says to me, oh, yeah, well, I met one of my friends in the bar the other day, and they were saying that what they
Yeah.
do, and then you're like, it's a completely different situation and
I'm glad
everything.
it's not just me, Alison. That happens a lot.
And I'm like, yeah, but they've got this, this, and this, and you've got
Yeah.
this. You're like, oh, okay, so can I not do
I
that?
have, I have a lot of that DIY financial planners. So, well, my mate's done this and my mate's done that. So
Such a
that's
body
what
at
I'm
the
going to
pub.
do.
Yeah, and it's
like,
always at a pub.
every so I say quite a lot of things like that. I'll say, well, you wouldn't go and ask a vet about your body, and you wouldn't ask a doctor about a dog. So like, ask the right person about the right kind of stuff that you're interested in, because just because your mate's doing it doesn't mean it's the right thing for your mate or you.
But they're always in a completely different situation as well. Like
Everybody's
business.
individual circumstances are different, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think we could produce our own soap opera here, Gorness.
Yeah, we are doing a short film, so
Should do a day in behind the scenes
Yeah.
in each of our businesses.
Yeah.